thing about Ireland is now that we have ease of access to this country, we're served very well by air transport and by sea transport. Somebody can leave central London at 5:30 and they could be down sailing with me at 9 o'clock that night. And that's pretty good. I think it would take you longer to drive to Southampton than to do that.
Kinsale is probably the best place from which to start a cruise to southwest Ireland, because not only is it a delightfully wacky mixture, but it also happens to be the gourmet capital of Ireland, and there's a cosmopolitan selection of restaurants where you can stoke the boilers before setting off for the mild rigours of a cruise in West Cork. Comes the morning, there's nothing more agreeable than to head out down the harbour and on towards the old head of Kinsale, which is, so to speak, the gateway to the west. Occasionally, of course, if you've overindulged in Kinsale, you'll feel an appropriate title would be the sore old head of Kinsale. But whatever frame of mind you are in as you round this, sometimes rugged headland, you will know that beyond it lies a country with a difference, the promised land, the cruising perfection where harbours occur at convenient intervals. And it's just the sheer physical quality of the environment. You've got the sea, you've got the islands, you've got scenery so unbelievably beautiful. After a while, I'm afraid you may not even notice it anymore. I need sometimes to be here with relative visitors like yourself just to have it pointed out to me how beautiful the place is. The place is indecently beautiful. But all these things add up to an extraordinarily vibrant coast.
I think it's the expression, the gay abandonment of it, because you really can let yourself go, and the music will go to your feet.
Thanks, Eddie.
Have a good trip.
Cheers, Eddie.
Back at Paris.
Okay, Jim.
Okay.
Nicely done. I would say nicely spit.
The south coast, southwest coast of Ireland certainly is a coastal water all its own. You don't have to stay at sea too long. The distances aren't large between good anchorages. And there's literally no obstruction all the way down. We talk about leaving Cork and going out and turning right and picking the daisies off the rocks. You can go that close. No obstruction. There's one rock off the galley head which people would want to watch. Otherwise you can see every obstruction and avoid them. The coast itself is beautiful, rugged country, very fjordy and no danger, and the biggest tides there are about 1.5 knots and they have to be springs. So you don't have to be watching the tides like you do on the French coast.
This delightful little village of Glandore is the first significant anchorage as you head westward from Kinsale. There are a few other little places in between, but most cruising people like to make the 30-mile hop down here because they know that once they've got to Glandore, everywhere else is within a matter of less than 10 miles. It's quite extraordinary how one port follows another right around the coast from here on. It's a good summer anchorage, but sometimes in strong southerly winds it can be a bit unsettled. And when that's the case, you can move across. It's only a mile across to the anchorage off the little pier at Union Hall. It's a first-class all-weather anchorage over there. We're just a little bit short of space in the anchorage here, so rather than make fools of ourselves in front of the good citizens of Glandore, I think we'll get underway under engine and put the main up out there just this side of the Cardinal Buoy in the open water. So Jim, if you would get the anchor up, we'll do it the easy way.
Fine.
I'll give her a little bit of head in the engine to take the weight off the windlass. Is that coming okay there now? She's all clear.
Ready to high skip?
Okay, Jim, as soon as you like, harden her home there, Noel. Kick her off and up with the main. We want to get a really nice firm shape. We want to get a bit of performance going out of this entrance here. That looks a fine mainsail. Fine mainsail. She's looking good. Now the kicker, please, before we fill the sail. There's quite a bite to the breeze today. Much more interesting to sail if you can at all. We'll have that reef in place. Come on, I'll fluff her round, take a bit of the weight out of it. And when you're ready on the red line, we'll harden that home as well. It is quite puffy, that, yeah. That looks fine on the luff for the minute, anyway. And we want this one really hard because that main has a lovely shape if we give it a chance. Right, hang on, I'll take the weight out of the sail.
How's that looking, Skip?
A little bit more she'll need, but not much. That's fine. If you could just tie in the lines there to get that bundle of cloth out of the way. We don't want to be showing the world our washing.
You tidy up the washing, do you?
Marvellous. Putting in a reef here, we don't even have oilskins on. Proper yachting. I think we should be able to lay this under sail with no bother, so we'll start thinking about the Genoa there as soon as you're ready. I'll only put a little bit of it on.
Let it go a bit, Skip. Bit more. More.
Come on.
Come on, let it go.
Attention to the Start to develop power, and we go down to the entrance. This is the interesting entrance. We've passed these rocks to port, the inner dangers, the outer dangers, the middle dangers, and they don't quite know where they are dangers for all I know. But beyond that we have the two islands, Adam and Eve. The instructions are avoid Adam and hug Eve. Absolutely delightful instructions, those, with which we shall comply. Eve comes first, unfortunately. But still, I suppose if you hug Eve, you have to avoid Adam. Nice entrance. And straight out into clear open water beyond Adam Island there. Right, she come? Oh, there she comes. Right, now we'll go up just a closer. That's fine, that's plenty. Did you ever hear the poem of the Northwest Wind? That night came on a hurricane. The sea was mountains rolling. Barney Buntland slewed his quid and spake to Pilly Poland. A strong nor'wester's blowing bill. Hark! Can't you hear it roar now? Lord love me, how I pities them unhappy folks ashore now. For comfortably as you and I upon the decks are lying. Lord knows what chimney pots and toils about their heads are flying. Here you go. Very good. Pass round the hat, please. Mine's a large gin and tonic. I think the first time I sailed into Castlehaven would have been 26, maybe 27 years ago. I have returned with increasing enchantment ever since. The anchorage of Castlehaven isn't just one of my favourite anchorages in southwest Ireland. It's undoubtedly one of my favourite anchorages in all Ireland. In fact, I think it's probably one of my favourite top 5 anchorages in the whole wide world. It's not too large. The main anchorage off the village of Castle Townsend is sheltered in 98% of conditions. And if the weather really did go to pieces, you can always go beyond the point up there where the pine trees are, and you'll find beyond it a beautifully sheltered pool where you're totally unaware that the Atlantic Ocean is only a couple of miles away. As you can see, the village slopes gently down to a beautiful waterfront where, in common with so many places elsewhere, the waterfront properties, which in former times were very much working buildings, are now being restored. That nice-looking old place there with the arch, a former boathouse, was where originally the O'Mahony brothers built the famous Et class, the local one designs, all of which ended in ETTE, which I can assure you produced some pretty bizarre names. The street, as you can see, winds gently up the hill. At least it looks gentle from here. I can assure you when you come ashore exhausted after a hard passage, it seems quite steep, but it's well worth climbing, because at the top of it you get various entertainments, and fortunately before you even get to the top of it you get about halfway up and there's Mary Ann's famous pub. Up in the hill beyond, St. Barahane's Church, the Protestant church, is the very symbol of the ascendancy who made Castle Townsend one of their bases. And the churchyard there is well filled with serried ranks of servants of the Raj who returned from far-flung corners of the empire to last out their days here in considerable comfort and style, God bless them.
Well, there's of course Edith Somerville and her cousin Violet Martin, better known as Somerville and Ross. Violet Martin wrote under the name of Martin Ross because she was Miss Martin of Ross in Galway. And the two cousins collaborated and wrote about 50 books in all, including The Irish RM, which of course is very well known and been filmed and so on, and also the novel The Real Charlotte, and various other books. And Edith Somerville lived practically all her life in the village here, but she did study in Paris. She studied art and was a very fine artist. And of course she travelled. And this was her home. It's at Rashan House, the other end of the village. And she was a cousin of my father's.
Castle Johnson is a real old. It's the last outpost of the British Empire, really. A lot of the people living there have served in the British Navy and served in the British Army. And if you went into the church there, Saint what? I can't remember the name of it now, but there's oars there off of one of the lifeboats off the Lusitania there. And if you look at the names of the pastors that have been there, and see the decorations around the wall, it's quite frightening to think that we didn't seem to do anything else but fight in those days, in those 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th and 18th centuries. All the names are all lieutenant commanders and all had been at Navy or in the Army, and they'd fought in all different campaigns. Didn't seem to do anything else but fight. It was a pity. And it certainly isn't the place to be remembering fighters. I don't think God ever meant us to go fighting for anything. He meant us to enjoy ourselves and survive, not fight over it.
bad hooer. You're a bad hooer.
Get up. Get up them stairs. Right. Let's have a bit of a jive. Say when.
Over sucking days now.
Right. How recently, Jim, was it you were in Barlow?
No, I was in there last year.
It was in the Andiamo.
Yeah.
It was a while since I've been there. In fact, quite always haven't been there since '72. But there's a rock on your right as you come into the anchorage.
That's right. I think we've got to stay fairly well to the west. You know?
Yeah. And then there's what? There's a couple of meters anyway, easily in the
there's
deep in the
plenty
blue
of-
water.
There's plenty of water there, really, you know.
It's just gone high water. So we might find the rapids are running in.
Oh, yeah.
In your own time, Jim. Okay, Jim, let go as soon as you're ready.
Anchor's touch the bottom.
Coming down. Not very comfortable there, Skipper. All you're missing is your G&T.
Actually, on my own boat, we drink the gimlet, the gin, and the dash of lime, and the fresh water, preferably water from Crinan. You don't need ice for it. If you spill it on the deck, it sticks to everything. So you don't spill it on the deck. But the gimlet for boats without fridge is the only man. Then, of course, the pink gin. There's a time there they stopped making Angostura bitters. So the only place in all Ireland you could get it was dotted right round here on the little pubs of West Cork, was Joe Fitzgerald. Hold on.
Anchor ready. Down on. We are getting shot. Oh, mind me, mind me.
Mind you what?
Anchor's dragging.
Mind me, mind me, mind me.
You're swishy, gun.
Thanks a lot.
Deserve dinner to share you off with that.
Look at this. Go in the room.
We're now in the approaches to Baltimore Harbour, and conspicuous above the entrance is the day mark. Baltimore, the sailing capital, I would think, of West Cork, because as you can see it has a fine open harbour, so extensive in fact that they can hold large dinghy regattas here without having to send the fleets out into the open water. The town itself is a model of hospitality, breezy, welcoming. You can exchange information at Bush's Public House or Lister's next door. And if you fancy a little bit of real indulgence, there's Huon's Breton restaurant, wherein many a cruise has been celebrated in suitable style. His cooking of seafood particularly is deservedly famous all along the coast. And although like any creative artist, he can be demanding in his nature, they do allow you to take the menu from Cheyenne along a few yards to Boucher's, and you sit outside there in the evening warmth and peruse the menu at your leisure, discuss the issues of the day. And truly it often is the case that the night is far spent when you're or one of his chefs comes along and makes it quite clear to you, you better come and eat now. And that too is well worthwhile because the food is out of this world. I enjoyed some lovely meals there. Anyone who's at all interested in the sea and sailing and ships generally should make a point of visiting Bush's pub in Baltimore. Richard Bush was the son of Thomas Bush, who was a shipwright. In 1922, he completed a 40-foot catch for a Limerick man called Conor O'Brien, who between 1923 and 1925 took this little Baltimore-built boat right round the world south of the Great Capes. It was the first yacht ever to do so. It was an epic voyage, resulted in that marvellous book, Across 3 Oceans.
To the best of my knowledge, there's only 4 admirals of yacht clubs in the world. One of them is the Royal Yacht Squadron, the Royal Thames, I think, the Royal Hong Kong, yes, and the Royal Cork, yes. If there are any others, I don't know about them. So we're rather a rare breed. To have an admiral of a yacht club is a rare breed, and it's a great honour to be given this honour by your fellow members, to be asked to be the admiral.
We've had a sighting of the Admiral. That's him coming down.
That's a real ball hop, I haven't won anything.
Good morning, Captain. Good morning, Good morning, viewers. It's another lovely day in Cork. Good.
Thank you for that lovely tune. That funky music will drive us through the dawn.
The Cork Week, or the Ford Week as it was known this year, was a tremendous success from the club's point of view, and most of the competitors who came, all of the competitors that I spoke to, were delighted with it. One of the things we must be careful of is to keep it an amateur regatta. And they created their own fun, and they used the club to its maximum, and they enjoyed the place tremendously. So it was nice. I think people enjoyed it, and they'll all be back again, please God.
I suppose one thing, you get a sense of great power and a sense of great manoeuvrability. You feel confident. Oh yeah, lovely boat. Absolutely lovely boat. The Tyne also has trim tabs, which keeps her bows down when she's going into weather. And if you're running before weather, you can lift up her stem and you can run away at 18 knots in any kind of sea. Excellent weather boat.
Well, part of Baltimore's distinction as the sailors' capital of West Cork is the fact that it has a lifeboat, a very fine lifeboat. And although you see here Baltimore Harbour as a pleasantly sheltered, summery sort of place, when the rail storms of winter come, conditions are such that in fact the lifeboat has to be launched on the slip. This is a spectacular occasion for the whole village. And Baltimore is one of these places where they've taken the lifeboat to their heart.
I suppose one thing, you get a sense of great power and a sense of great manoeuvrability. You feel confident. Oh yeah, lovely boat. Absolutely lovely boat. There's something about her. She comes out of the mist like something from the past. It makes one proud to be from Baltimore, Ireland.
Well, she's a very thrilling vessel to sail because she's very fast. She is handy, meaning that she maneuvers quite well. She's a good sailing boat on all points of sailing, but of course, like any schooner, probably just abaft the beam. But she does well on the wind in smooth water. This type of vessel evolved as a blockade runner or to carry small valuable cargoes and evade capture. However, when the War of 1812 started and the American government had no navy, these fast vessels were pressed into service as privateers, and that's how they made their mark on history.
I find her a lovely vessel. She's a hard-working boat for the crew. There's never a day when you've got all of it done and you can relax. She's easy to sail as a skipper, I find. I enjoy the complexity of the rig. I enjoy the challenge of the vessel as a sailing art form. She's an education that when you go to other boats, it brings a new line of thinking to all the other boats you sail, which can be very, very beneficial. I like her a great deal.
The whole west coast of Ireland, the southwest coast, is a superb place for learning to sail, and we teach all types of sailing at all levels within the various areas. Some areas are more suitable than other areas for the sailing. It really started with the French cruising boats coming here in the mid-60s and finding it such a superb cruising ground. They started coming and got interested, and it went from there.
In that case, if a person fell overboard, the first thing that the skipper in the boat would do, or if there isn't a skipper on the boat, the person who's on the helm would say, designate somebody to look at the person who has fallen into the water. They keep their eye on the person, and the person on the helm would immediately bear away and bring the boat on. Jive. Oh! And
overboard! Okay, bearing away.
Be away. More, be away,
leave
more.
It loose, leave it loose.
Okay,
ready?
okay,
Ready to heave.
Okay.
Okay, you went you win that time for the
Out, sail. Okay. Be away a little. Be away a little.
Okay, you weren't running straight before the you win that time for the dive. Okay.
Push the tiller, stop the boat.
Sit down.
Left foot. Left foot. Stop the boat. Touch the mainsail. Left foot.
Okay, you weren't running straight before the you win that time for the Sit down.
And again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Woo. That was very good. That was very quick. Oh Lord.
I'm going to practice run.
Okay.
Very good, Jim.
Sorry. You go for the circle. Very good.
I'm still not cold.
And now, Vincent, your turn.
The basic philosophy is to teach people to be as self-reliant as possible. If they get into trouble, they should be able to get out of it themselves.
If we can somehow achieve that, this business of just stepping on your own little ship and wandering where you will, it's perfection.
Okay, Jim, are you ready to shorten her up with that midship line? Yeah, just round the bollard over and she balances on the Is it Skip? Must be time for a pint.
You persuaded me, you silver-tongued devil.
First one's on you.
Cape Clear is a splendid island. The people who live in it, they're called the Capers. They tend to refer to the nearby stretch of country as Ireland. They think of themselves as being decidedly individual, and of course, as the most southerly part of all Ireland, I suppose, they're perfectly justified in so doing. One of the gems of Cape Clear is Paddy Burke's pub up on top of the island, where you get a fine view down to North Harbour and as well across to South Harbour, which is on to east. Paddy Burke's family have been running this pub since 1886, and as you can see, Mr. Burke is a man who enjoys life and enjoys welcoming people to his wonderful island. I should say that inevitably you will find you go into pubs a lot as you cruise along the Irish coast. It may be you're so inclined to do this, but in any case, when you get to some of the more remote villages, you'll find that the main institution in these little townships is the local pub, and you can get advice about anything you need to know about what may be going on in the island or in the village or in the fishing port or what might be about to happen. Or indeed, if you have any problems, they can point you in the right direction for finding an engineer, a shipwright, or whatever.
Good girl. Come on then. Come on then.
Well, generally speaking in Ireland, there's not been a very long tradition of farmhouse cheese. But this part of the world is probably the cheese capital of Ireland. Within, I suppose, 10 or 15 miles radius of where we're standing now, you could buy more than half a dozen very good cheeses made locally. In particular, just across the water in Schull.
I think, like any traditional cheese, it's the land. It's where the cows graze. It's the milk we use. We have unique pasture here in West Cork around Schull. We've got land that is acid. We've got the sea salt in the soil. It's unique milk, and that with the traditional methods we use, that makes the cheese unique too. The word tradition is sometimes misunderstood because it's sometimes associated perhaps with slapdash or wishy-washy thinking. It is simply that cheeses were produced for many, many hundreds of years in conditions where you had to apply logic rather than science. And what we have done here is to try and marry the two. We've got the old wonderful attitudes to cheese production, which mean simplicity and no chemicals, but we've also made efforts to learn the modern microbiology and obviously the hygiene and the quality control. So we've married the two, the old traditions and the modern techniques.
Leaving North Harbour, it's a cruising man's dream because right along the coast in this neighbourhood, there are what they call Carberry's 100 Isles, and they provide an enchanted cruising ground for boats of all sizes, because although you can get the best of them perhaps with small craft, with shoal draft, there are plenty of anchorages suited to the modern cruising yacht drafts of 6 feet or so. There's never a dull moment, and everybody has such an intriguing background. If you take it at its own valuation, assuming of course the people down here would be so pompous as to make a valuation of the kind of society they have, which I very much doubt. They're so busy getting on with life. It just is a place you can relax in. I think if I ever want to get the feeling of being totally on holiday, totally away cruising, I think of lying in Crookhaven on a summer's evening. It's a strategic port in that it's the first worthwhile anchorage after you pass Mizzen Head, Ireland's southwest corner. And therefore the harbour is always filled in the middle of the summer with yachts outward bound, inward bound. They may have come from America, they may just have come round Mizzen Head, they may have come up from France. But this cosmopolitan atmosphere suits Crookhaven because it attracts people who have a truly cosmopolitan outlook. A pace setter being Billy O'Sullivan in the pub whose famous father, Sonny O'Sullivan, established links with France in general and Brittany in particular, which are very much alive today.
Sullivan's, I think, serve the nicest sandwiches, the best value in salmon, fresh salmon sandwich I'd get anywhere in the world. The salmon is thicker than the bread. It's worth going up there alone for the salmon sandwich.
It's great. Hello. Great. We have a complete mixed bag of people, and at night here the crack is mighty, really. Fella playing the piano, great ambience going, French and English and Americans and all. Not many Americans. Germans. And, like any single day we'll have, in the course of a day, we'll have 10, 12 nationalities here. Just casual customers coming. 6 nights a week there is a great session going every night. That I like.
Basically, it's a nice place and it's a nice port of call. The French use it a lot. When I went there first, there was a big lobster ponds over on the lower island where the lighthouse was. And you could go over and see them swimming along, and there used to be a cutter come from France, from Brest, twice a week to collect the lobsters.
Well, I can't think what else I do, you know. I make a few bob in the summer, and it's nice. And what else? I don't know. Well, that's about it. I like living here. In fact, wherever we go on holiday, I'm so excited coming home. I get a buzz when I come home, when I come around the corner there and see that, however empty it looks, I like it.
Many people are perfectly happy to make Crookhaven their furthest west, but if you do have the time, I really would recommend going on around Mizzen Head. Can be a demanding headland. I don't think it's quite as tough a proposition as Land's End itself. But if you get conditions right, you can get on around Mizzen Head, and then you find the country begins to change. You move away from the medium hills, shall we call them, of the south coast of West Cork, and you begin to get into the big country. You get a hint of the mountains. You find that you're in the area of the Rias, the, I suppose technically speaking, sunken river valleys, which now provide so many fascinating long inlets thrusting deep into the countryside of West Cork. However, if time is pressing, on we'll go to Bantry Bay, the noble inlet which sweeps up past Castleton there and on ultimately to Glegarrriff. What many people would argue is the anchorage, the place, Glegarrriff. But it was here in this place with its almost subtropical climate that the Irish Cruising Club came into being. Again, therefore, we have it as almost a place of pilgrimage. I remember coming here in 1979 to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of the club. Even I think the gardens are sublime. My idea of a garden is a small patch of lawn that can be trimmed quickly between cruises. So it's a salutary experience to visit Garnish and see what can be done when somebody puts total enthusiasm into garden creation. And it makes a lovely contrast with the salty, rugged little places you may be visiting along this coast to come in here and come into this sublime creation of the horticulturalist's art. I must say, fair dues to him. He made a great job of it. We're going to be in some of the more remote places down here, and you know how difficult it sometimes is to get stores and water. So if we just nip in alongside the fishing boats here at Castleton-Bear, we'll have to bring the hose in over the boats. That's a bit of a problem, but it's still the handiest place to take on water that I know of down here. So Jim, if you'll just take that warp there, we'll come in alongside the Careen, is she, outside the Comet. They go for a certain style here in their fishing boat names. As soon as you can, so you're going sideways with this crosswind. Thank you. Just hook that one over. What? No one would be surprised we managed to do this without his help. But he deserves this lie-in after the way he brought around the mizzen yesterday. I wish I could sleep like that. Now then, let's see how we're getting the hose across these fishing boats. Makes the Grand National look like a dolphin. Try the lead there. Undoubtedly a water jump. You're going to end up with double spring. Take it back up to that there. Lots of beaches, Brooke. Extraordinary thing about a fishing boat. No two ones are the same. Bark my shin in about 20 different places. A couple more inches and you're in. Okay, we're fine. Fishing boat. We've got it. The rate is powerful. This is used for putting tons of water aboard fishing boats, and all for free.
You've got to switch it on first.
You know, when God made Ireland, he made a lot of time in Ireland too, and a lot of water. McCarthy's, a gem of a place. It's the ultimate, perhaps, Irish pub. It's a grocery shop. It's a centre exchange. You can arrange just about every form of business here, and almost inevitable cruising folk and the leading fishermen will congregate in McCarthy's, and I have never entered the hallowed portals of this splendid place without learning something of real value, such as, for instance, how you can turn a flag into a drink.
with stardust just to make the shamrocks grow. And when they had it finished, sure they called it Ireland.
The value of video films can only be fully appreciated when video is used as an instructional and informative medium. Video can add a dynamic perspective by giving a real sense of what it's like to be there. Yachting monthly sailing video films are made by yachtsmen who are professional filmmakers, working to full broadcast standards. Whether shared with family and sailing friends as entertainment, or studied for areas of particular interest, you'll find they add value to the more traditional sources of information. On approaching from the north, leave Plat Fougère 2 cables to the west, and continue due south until you see the Petite Canoupe South Cardinal buoy nearly 3/4 of a mile from the lighthouse. On rounding the Petite Canoupe buoy, one picks up the leading marks and buoyed channel into the marina. The entrance to Beausset can, for the first-time yachtsman, appear daunting, and certainly should not be attempted in strong winds between the north and the east. However, the approach does not present extraordinary problems in normal weather, especially if you're under power. Confidence can be built on the thought that Roger Smith, the present owner of Beausset, bought the old Spurn light vessel when she was retired off station, and she now lies at her mooring within the marina. If she can navigate the channel through the cliffs, the modern yacht should not be embarrassed. Once the dog-leg to port has been negotiated, marina staff will guide you to an available berth. The facilities are all that you would expect in a first-class yacht harbour, including laundrette, water, diesel, licensed shop and gourmet restaurant. There is even air for diving bottles. Car and bicycle hire are also provided. As in all cases, leaving seems so much easier once the fears of the unknown have been dispelled.
Okay, Rob, take her away. Hey, Rob, could you let draw the jib, please? I'll have some staysail as soon as you're ready. As soon as you settle down, I'll come forward and give you a hand. That's it. There she goes, that's good. You can feel her up here, you can feel her taking that. Make that up, we'll check the halid tension in a minute when we've got her about. That's enough, I think. It's probably too much, Robert. Just give it a bit of ease. That's fine. We'll leave it there. Just tidy up these sheep tails here. How does the staysail look? How does the loft look? Doesn't need any more tension, no? We're going down on the East Sleep buoy here, which is good news. What's happening up here? Okay then. Starting to locks and knocks now. You can get on the foredeck there, it's all happening. Tops will really make a big difference today, because it's 200 square feet right where you want it, so it sucks like a vacuum cleaner up there. Everything's special about Heathrow, I think.
There we are, at a rock buoy, sounding very mournful as usual. Yeah, the rock itself lies somewhere sort of between us and the shore. I think that little fishing boat over there is probably sitting right on top of it, picking up a few pollock or something. But it's interesting, the transit marks and the buoy are not really in alignment at the moment. In fact, the transit mark's right in there on the cliffs. The buoy is quite a way to the east of them. Obviously, slightly out of position. Just goes to show you can never actually fully trust a buoy. Still, not much further to Foy now. The end of the voyage is in sight.
Although completely hidden from the east, the entrance to Foy Harbour is not difficult to find. Thanks to the huge red and white horizontally striped day mark, a square pillar 104 metres high built on Gribben Head, which extends as a long promontory to the southwest of the river mouth. When approaching from Plymouth, a particularly useful mark is this conspicuous white house high on the cliffs, immediately to the east of the harbour entrance. As the headland draws a beam, Punch Cross, a white cross on a large rock, will come into view to starboard, and the river mouth and the town of Foy will emerge, with high ground on either side. Having passed Punch Cross Rock, the next mark to note is the triangular white beacon on Lambert Rock. This should also be left to starboard. Once past Polruan Fort, the river widens, and the moorings, then the village of Polruan itself, will come into view along the eastern side of the harbour. Polruan, clinging to an even steeper hillside than Foy, can provide all the basic requirements. A quiet and attractive little village, it wisely bans visitors' cars during the season. However, we decided to make our port of call on the visitors' short-stay pontoon at Foy.
The purpose of this course, like all RYA courses, is quite simply to make people better sailors. In this instance, the course is specifically to make people better skippers. Now, you cannot buy experience. It's often said that only experience can make a decent yachtsman in the long run. Well, to a certain extent, that's true, but a lot of people come into the sport late in life and want to learn as fast as they can so that they can enjoy their yachting as quick as they can. If you're in this position, or even if you're starting out as a young person, it still will assist your assessment of your own experience enormously if you have some firm grounding of instruction. Now, it's not enough just to get your instruction in a classroom. It's even more important to get it on a boat at sea with a real professional sailor. And that's what the Coastal Skipper Practical course will give you. It'll put all this knowledge into perspective, and it will give you a firm footing to go out to sea in your own right and make yourself a better skipper, because in the end, you're your own best instructor. Try easing the sheet a bit, we'll see if we can get it in. We're just going to see if we can roll up to the Yankee. Keep her off the wind, Dennis. You're going up to the wind. Keep her right off the wind. Much more ease.
Okay.
Keep her off the wind, Dennis, please. Do me a favour. That's the way. All comes easy, all of a sudden. All done by Candace. More ease on the sheet, please.
Okay.
More ease.
Please, we're getting ready now.
How about taking up the slack on the preventer, eh? Can you do that? Yeah, that's better, otherwise it might catch in something, you see. Lovely, okay. Keep watching them, Dennis.
Yeah. Will you put in the second reef now? Graham, could you let the kicker off?
Take the turns off the winch and the job's a piece of cake.
Them on the mast.
Why don't you wind the winch to make sure it's really tight? Back shot from the foredeck then, what next? Okay, Dennis, it's time we went around now.
Okay.
Can you stand by the runner over there, Bob, and make sure the tricing line is off.
Ready, Bob?
Yeah.
Lee ho.
Is it worth tricing this runner down?
No, I wouldn't bother.
Ready, Bob? Lee ho.
There's plenty of tide still standing here. This southwest gale is holding it up. You see the posts on Stansel Point now, and they're well covered, which is good, because I was beginning to think we were going to be a bit late. The tide is going to hang in for something. So just keep her going and let her do her best.
I can think a lot more clearly now about the dynamics in sailing, particularly working under sail in difficult or close situations. I think I've become a safer sailor, if you like.
By the end of the week, little families developed, and invariably, and I speak as one who's instructed for 5 years of his life non-stop, invariably at the end of the week, you're sad to see the others go, and you wonder how on earth you're going to manage next week with a crowd of people you've never met. But every week, it's a new delight. Great, great fun. Everybody really should do a coastal skipper practical course, whether they need it or not, because it's one of the best weeks off they'll ever have in their life.